Hey everyone, welcome back. This tutorial is going to be teaching you the basics of animation using Clara. The idea is that whatever object we animate, we can then bring over to the Play Canvas app and have it run inside the 3D game engine. Okay, so I've got my box here selected. So this is the timeline down here. You've got these first three buttons here. This one will go to the beginning of the animation. This one will go to the end of the animation. And then this triangle here, of course, is the play button. You start off with 200 frames, and it's basically 30 frames per second, just very much like video. You can click down here, and you'll put that little red line, that's the playhead. And you can click and you can drag, and over here you will see what frame that you are currently on. Okay, so you can get to frame 60, for instance, and you start off on frame 0. If you want to change the duration of the timeline instead of 200 and you want to make it shorter or longer, you can do that a couple ways. You can just make sure that you have nothing selected. Come over here on the right, go to timeline, and right here you can do start frame and end frame, and so you can change that there. You can also go up here to the animation menu and just do timeline settings, and that'll bring it there as well. Alright, so let's get this thing moving here. So I'm on frame 0 and I've got the box selected. So the first thing you want to do when animating is you want to come down here in the timeline and choose what frame you want to make a keyframe on. I'm going to start with 0. Then you select the object that you of course want to work with. Then you come over here on the right hand side and you're going to click and open up the transform property panel. And you can see here that we can animate translation, which is movement. We can animate rotation. We can animate scale, and we can animate shear. And if you don't know what shear is, that's just like kind of distorting it. And there you go. Okay, but these three here are the more popular ones: movement, rotation, and scale. So what I want to do is I need to set a keyframe, and a keyframe is the most important frame in the action. And then Clara will then figure out all of the in-between frames. So I want it to start right here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come up here and I'm going to click on the word translation, and it will turn red, telling me that a keyframe has been made. Now down here in the timeline, you'll see that on frame 0, a little orange line appears here telling you that there is a keyframe. Okay, so now we're going to animate. So I'm going to go to frame 40. Got my box still selected, but now I need to make a change to the box. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to move it over here on the Z axis. Now you can do this by just clicking and dragging out here in real time, or you can come over here to where the boxes are and you can just type something in. I'll type in 6 and hit return. Okay, now that I've made the change to the object, I need to come back up here and click on translation. And now it goes red, there's a keyframe in there, and there we go. We have an animation. I'm going to go back here, go back to the beginning, press play, and you'll see we've got an object animating. And you'll see that the playhead continues playing through, and then it will loop back around. Okay, so now if I want to continue, and I'm just going to kind of do some random stuff here. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm on frame 80 now, and I'm going to go upwards on the y-axis, click on translation, and there we go. So now I have made 3 keyframes, and I'll go ahead and I'll finish on this last one here and translation. Okay, so now I have 4 keyframes, and I'm just going to kind of leave it like that. If I wanted to have it loop back around, I could. Frame 0 is when it's all at 0, 0, 0, 0, 0. So I could add in a final keyframe and then change it all back to 0. And keyframe it one last time, and there we go. So now it should be a loop. And there you go. You can see it works pretty nicely. Okay, so you can animate other things as well. So for instance, if I want to go ahead and I'm on frame 40, if I would now want to add in some rotation, let's say I want to come here and I want to rotate. Let me switch to the rotation tool so you can see this better. Let's say I want to rotate it on the x-axis. I want it to spin. So I could come here, and for the rotation for the x-axis, I could type in 360 degrees. Okay, and it has done it. But I now need to keyframe its rotation, so I click on the word rotation. Now, when I go back to frame 0, you'll see nothing is happening. Why? And the reason why is because I never gave it a keyframe on frame 0. When I'm at frame 0, you'll see that it says here that the rotation is still 360 degrees. I'm going to reset that back to 0, press return, and I need to click on the word rotation. Now it's recorded it, and it knows that it wants to start off at 0, and then by the time it goes to frame 40, get itself to 360 degrees, so one full rotation. So now not only is moving, but it's also rotating. And there you go. Okay, so when you're animating, you just have to remember to click on the label over here. Click on the label over there, and you have to make sure you think about the previous frame, like where is it coming from. Okay, so we can also change scale. I'll go ahead and do that now. So I want it to get, let's have it get larger over here. So instead of the scale being 1, 1, 1, I'm going to go ahead and have it be 3 on the x-axis, so it gets wider. Maybe 6 on the y, so it's really tall. And then let's do 2 for the z, so it gets a little thicker there. Okay, so again, I'm going to go ahead and make sure I press the word scale, but now I have to think about, what about the previous keyframe? See, like right this over here, I need to come back here, and I need to make sure that I go back to 1, 1, 1. So it's normal size, and I create the keyframe. Okay, go back to the beginning, press play, it rotates, goes up, and it's going to do the big old scale. Okay, and you'll see it stays at the scale because I told it I didn't give it any other instructions. So if I go to the very last frame here and I change the scale back to 1, 1, 1, and again keyframe it, now we've got where it'll come back. And there we go, and it's a little smoother. Okay, so I've got location, I've got rotation, and I've got scale going on. So to finish this video up, I'm going to show you how to do a little bit of editing of these keyframes. So first of all, if I don't like where a keyframe is happening, this keyframe is happening on 80, if I want it to happen a little faster, I can actually click and drag it over here to the left, and now that'll go ahead and play significantly faster. If I drag a keyframe here to the right, I'm making this part here longer, but this part here a little bit shorter. So that's just something to think about. Okay, what if you make a keyframe and you need to delete it? How do you do that? Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to get onto this keyframe right here. And I can take away any of these keyframes here. So maybe I want to take away the scaling keyframe where it gets larger. So if I go ahead and get there, I want to come over here, and instead of left mouse clicking on the word, I'm going to right mouse click. And when you right mouse click, you get a couple different options here. So set keyframe, that's what we already did. We click on the name and it sets a keyframe. We can remove the keyframe, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. And you can see that it basically went back to its normal shape. But you'll still see that there is an orange line down here. So what gives? What's going on? I only have one keyframe, and it's the movement one. It's the location one. Well, let me go ahead and get rid of that one. I'm going to remove that keyframe as well. So now there's no keyframe here. There should be no keyframe here. But why do I still have this orange line right here? Well, it's not really there. I think it's a glitch with Clara. I'm going to go ahead and give it a few seconds, and then I'm going to press refresh. And when it loads back up and I select the box, you'll now see that that keyframe is truly gone. So I think it's not updating in real time, and I'm not sure why that's the case, but it's not. Maybe it's just because it's a web app and it's just taking its time. But removing a keyframe does actually work. It just doesn't show it, which is strange. Okay, let me show you another option here. When I right mouse click and I go here, I also have clear keyframes. This one you want to be very careful about. So watch what happens. This is going to pretty much ruin your animation, I found. So you'll see that I've got this animation where the box is flipping and rotating, it's rising, and it's kind of moving, and then it goes back here. Okay, so if I go onto a keyframe, and I right mouse click and I say clear keyframes, you'll now see that my keyframes are still down here in the timeline, but I get no activity. I basically cleared and gotten rid of all of the movement, the translation keyframes. Okay, now you'll notice that it's still rotating. So if I go over here to this keyframe and I come over here to rotation and I right mouse click and I choose clear keyframes, it's now going to clear all of the rotation. So you'll see that everything goes back to 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 1, 1, 1. It's basically like starting over from scratch. So I guess if you really mess the keyframe up, you might want to clear it to just get it back to 0. But what seems to be happening is that it's going to clear all of these keyframes, which I don't want to touch. So I'm not sure why that option is there. Maybe I'm missing something, but if it cleared it just for this one keyframe, that would be handy. But it clears it for all of them, which I don't like. So I would suggest maybe staying away from that command and just set keyframes and then right mouse click and remove the keyframe just to get rid of it. Okay, so I'm not sure why that's going on. Again, you may have to hit refresh on your site a little bit because I've noticed that some things tend to be a little slow in updating. Okay, I hope this helps you out, and I will see you next time. Thanks, everyone.